Tonight, we're going to be talking about the commandments. I hope you pay attention because there is going to be a pop quiz afterwards. But if you go to school in Texas, don't worry, they're in every single classroom. The commandments were never meant to be traps or hoops you jump through. They're about shaping a life that knows how to love. And they don't tell us how to earn God's love. They show us what love looks like once we belong. So as we spend time tonight with the commandments, hear them not as a way that you messed up, but as a way that God teaches us how to live well. Because at the center of all the commandments is this point: love.
A reading from Matthew chapter 22. Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest? He said to him, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Here ends the reading.
Teacher, which commandment is the greatest? And he's just asking, okay, Jesus, rank what's the most important. Tell us what's the most important so that we can ignore the other things that are going around. And if we're honest with ourselves, that's still a question that we ask. What matters more, belief or behavior? Faith or justice? Getting theology right or being a decent human being? What is the greatest commandment? And Jesus doesn't even hesitate. He doesn't say, well, it's complicated. He doesn't start a podcast series about what the greatest commandment is. He simply says, it's this: love God and love your neighbor. And then he does something really sneaky. He says the second one is just like the first one. Not beneath it, not an option, not something that you do once you master the love of God. It's together. The second is like the first, which means you and I, we cannot separate them. You can't say, oh, I love God, but man, God's people. I mean, seriously. No, I'm just kidding. You don't get to say, my faith is private, all the while ignoring public harm. You can't say, I love people, while using God as an excuse to wound them and oppress them and marginalize them. Jesus welds these two things together. Love for God that never shows up in how you treat people isn't love for God. And love for people that refuses to see their sacred worth, that's not love either. And Jesus doesn't give us a checklist, he gives us a lens. All the laws and prophets hang on these, which means this is how you use to filter the readings. You use love to make it, to be the lens for everything that you read. Because two people can read the exact same Bible and the exact same passage, and one comes away gentler, one comes away sharper, one comes away more curious, one comes away more convinced that they are right. And Jesus is saying, no, this is the lens, love. This is how you check your work. If your faith keeps making you colder, harsher, or more certain that you're better than others, may I suggest, I don't think you're doing it right. But if your faith keeps interrupting your comfort, your certainty, keeps pulling you towards mercy, keeps nudging you to listen before you judge, you're probably closer to the kingdom of heaven than not. And then Jesus adds this one last line that sounds simple, but we know that it isn't. Love your neighbor as yourself. That doesn't mean pretending that you love yourself perfectly already, because most of us don't. Some of us are really hard on ourselves, and some of us are carrying shame that we didn't even choose. Some of us are taught that God is far more disappointed in us than God is happy with us. Jesus isn't saying, first figure out yourself, and then will talk. He's saying you matter enough that how you treat others should flow from that truth. Grace doesn't start with you getting better at loving. Grace starts with you being loved. And at this conference, you're going to worship, you're going to learn, you're going to laugh, you probably overthink something at 1 a.m., you're going to be on bed, and you're going to play that way you introduce yourself, and you're like, oh my God, why did I say that? But maybe you'll also encounter God in ways you didn't expect. You're going to hear a lot of good things, but if you forget everything else, if there's only one thing that you carry from our 4 to 5 days together, love is not the reward for getting faith right. Love is the point. And if what we call faith doesn't move us toward love, then somewhere along the way, we've left Jesus behind.